So that shiny new game just came out, Atlas Fallen, and you want to know if it's worth your time, right? Well, let's take a look at the game for some first impressions. So once you select your difficulty, of which I selected normal, you're greeted with 2 minutes and 40 seconds of cutscenes. After the cutscenes end, you spawn as a blue person that reminds me of the movie Avatar. You run up the path a ways and then it zooms into a monster. Right away I could tell that I really don't like the combat in this game. I had the FOV slider maxed out, but when fighting a battle it really zoomed me out. The combat is pretty simple so far, and the hit sound effects are very cheap sounding, which took me off guard. Also, a blue force field appears as a circle around your battle, making you confined within that area as long as you're fighting.
No, I will not go back.
A voice says you cannot escape, and your character says no, he won't go back, then it fades to black. This is where you get to customize your character now. You can choose a few different presets, both male and female. I chose male. Here's a list of what you can customize: hairstyle, beard, skin tone, cheeks, chin, forehead, eyebrow shape, nose shape, mouth, ears, and outfit color. There's no slider to customize fully, just a few options each.
Thank you for coming back for me. I was in this dream.
After that, you spawn laying on the ground with a lady over you named Tracker. She explains there was an attack on the caravan by wraiths, aka monsters, and that she came back to look for survivors but only found you. He says he was in a dream, which makes me believe that the first part of the game was a dream in his head. Most likely it was a real event he witnessed as a dream instead of just a dream. A guard walks up later and is very disrespectful to you, and Tracker says that an unnamed means nothing to his kind. That must mean that you are an unnamed, whatever that means. After you finish talking to her, the game pops up how to play co-op, but I didn't mess with that. Your first mission is to talk to 3 people: Warden, Smith, and Herder. Why are people named by their professions? I don't know. Basically, you go to each person to arrange meetings so you can all stand together against the guards and come up with a solution. Next, I took a look at the menu, and I see that you have a tab for quests and quest items. Under the Journey tab, you have a section for bestiary, artifacts, formulas, treasure maps, lore items, and tutorials. The co-op tab has platform invite, generated code, and IP address as options. After talking to the campfire about solutions, the guard leader, Morath, sees you talking and comes over to stop it.
Back to work, all of you. Now. Thelos is watching.
Thelos is the god that watches over that world, and specifically his god. Therefore, Thelos must be a bad god. You talk back and forth with him for a while, and he says one of your kind stole something from him and ran to the waste. He wants you to go retrieve it. Your character hears something calling out to him, so he investigates. A gauntlet attaches itself to your arm. A wraith spawns, and the gauntlet is basically a weapon and lets you fight it. The gauntlet has a spirit living inside of it, but it just so happens that this spirit doesn't know anything and has some sort of memory loss. You start to head back, and then wraiths attack you at different points so the game can teach you of different mechanics with the gauntlet. Feel free to pause on the descriptions. First is momentum, then ascending, then idle, which can also heal you, and double jump. After fighting more monsters, you come across the thief. He hands you the item, and that's it. You go back to return it, and Morath sees your new gauntlet. He grabs it and puts it on. It doesn't work for him, and it hurts him. After you get back inside camp, you talk to Tracker, who says she knows about the gauntlet and that it's a powerful weapon. She says that you must retrieve it, and Morath can't have it. She explains that in the past, knights used it to defy the queen, but they were defeated. I then talked to the traveling vendor and bought recruit garments. It appears you can also sell items to him. After buying armor, you now have a tab in the menu armor. You can even customize the armor, though I had nothing to use. After traveling to the destination, you find Morath, who's planning on killing you. Then the mask acts up and launches itself at you, making you fall off the edge into the cave. On the caves, you learn more functions of the gauntlet. Sand skin is first, which lets you block attacks if timed right, causing the enemy to temporarily freeze. You then unlock a new tab in the menu, Gauntlet. You receive the sand whip weapon and now have an area in Gauntlet for weapons and idols. Next, you learn off-screen indicators, which tell you when an enemy will attack you if they're off screen. After a bit of fighting and traveling, you find Morath again, and then he goes crazy mode and lights on fire. So you run, obviously. This is where you learn you can now slide on sand because you have some sort of control over it. After all that, you're safe and talk to your memory lost spirit buddy. He says the 1,000-year queen is the avatar of Thelos, aka the god who's probably bad. This is where you learn to raise items from the sand. After a little sand sliding and monster fighting, you learn about essence stones. There's tier 1, 2, and 3, and different essences have different abilities to aid you. This one is for increased damage. You can also upgrade them using items and resources. However, essence stones don't get activated until your momentum, the blue bar on the bottom, gets high enough to use it. After a lot more gameplay, you come to this item in the ground, an anvil. Anvils can be used as a fast travel location or to heal you, upgrade your gauntlet, upgrade your armor, customize your perks, upgrade your momentum gauge, and save your game. Currently, I only have gauntlet upgrades available to use. Next, you learn about aerial combat, which is kind of fun. After a lot more gameplay, the spirit tells you the gauntlet is damaged and needs to be repaired. Also, you aren't strong enough to lift up this gate from the sand yet. I wonder where that goes. Also, here's a quick look at the map because I never showed it. I explored some more, then came across the first piece of the gauntlet to help repair it. Also, you fight your wraiths here and learn a new gauntlet technique, Shatter. After defeating those monsters, you learn a new skill again, Niall's Senses, which locates where the next gauntlet pieces are. I stopped at this anvil right here and upgraded my armor, and then bought a perk. My first perk. This perk gains idle energy when you collect plants. From this point forwards, I believe it's now open world, more or less. So I went around fighting wraiths and collecting gauntlet pieces. A lot later, you learn about how large enemies have health and several different body parts. Then there's essence cores, which I have the description of shown for you. Overall, this is not how I expected this game to be at all. I saw some videos about Atlas Fallen prior to release, and the game itself didn't live up to my expectations that I had in my head. I'm really unsure how I feel about this game. I was hoping for a more engaging story, and I just didn't feel that hooked. If I had to choose between like and dislike, it would be a slight like. Maybe further into the game, my opinions will change, but whether or not this is your type of game, I'll see you in the next one.